Insecurity. Just not good enough. Not good enough. Not good enough for what? It's too general. Like it's too vague. You have to have a context to be not good enough in, and often we use that expression not good enough as this general feeling of like less. It's like a kind of a shame thing, you know, or a guilt thing. It can be in something like dating. If you don't feel good enough for the other person, it's like whatever it is that I think that this person can give me, if I don't feel good enough for that, I'm going to take this person's interpretation, I'm going to overlay it onto my own sense of self-worth and use that reflection back to let it tell me something intrinsically important about my identity. And that can definitely lead people into spirals of shame, shutdown, fear, guilt, because it's like fundamentally it's like, what if I'm not good enough to be worthy of love? It's like a childhood hangover when you're thinking about not good enough. It's such a meager, blunt and binary concept that just doesn't reflect the nature of reality. But we want to break that down into finer bits to understand what are the emotions that actually stand behind that. What is it that we need to feel in order to feel like that concept doesn't exist? Really, you have to bring things down into this context of needs, and needs being the life inside of people driving some kind of motivation. Everybody has these needs inside of them, and we can understand what we need better by feeling what we feel. If you're disconnected from your feelings, you're disconnected from what your body is trying to tell you, disconnected from what you actually need. Thinking about all of that and thinking about how different people have different needs, you have different needs, those things are alive, they're drivers and motivators to action. What somebody else needs, you might not be a good fit for that. You know, that might not be the right fit for them, and that's completely fine. Like it's really working through this childhood pain that feels like a threat. Whatever I feel when I'm with this person is something that is gonna really, I just love it, and I like crave and long for it, because it doesn't feel like something I can generate on my own, and it has to be this person. Like, this is where we go with those trains of thought, and feeling not good enough, what I am and what I offer and am available for, etc., is not a good fit for this person. You know, I don't want to like push myself onto somebody. I want to know if this is a good fit. I'm trying to find out if this is the right thing for both of us, because I want that mutuality in the connection. We'll so often take what somebody else needs as a reflection on our self-worth. There's a real contraction, and it's usually somewhere lower down here, but maybe it can manifest here as a tightness and an anxiety in the chest, and it's just like this sense of I'm not good enough, that's a threat to my survival. And we just want to gently recalibrate that survival stress response, the not good enough response, to reality now that, okay, it might be true in the sense of this person has this need for this, and what I offer is something completely different, and that's not the right fit for this person. And you could say it's not good enough in the sense of, well, it's not, but it doesn't mean that my intrinsic value and worth is less. But this idea of I'm not good enough in general because this person had needs that I wasn't able to satisfy, it can trigger a lot of stuff from childhood, you know, rejection, loneliness, but shame more particularly, which is the sense of I'm so bad if I punish myself enough, or if I make myself small enough, because maybe the not good enoughness is I've been too loud, or I've been too expressive, or something that I've expressed has not landed in the right way, therefore I have to limit that expression in order to survive, basically, in order to get my parents' love and approval again, which is just, it's normal. Anyway, that's what we'll try and look at a little bit today, this not feeling good enough, insecurity. Let's see what we can unpack. So thinking about all of that, then maybe you want to put a hand on the belly, hand on the chest, and start to feel how those words, or how those thoughts, how those ideas are landing, where they're landing in the body, and think about an incident in particular where you felt not good enough, and see if you can identify It doesn't matter if you don't have to be perfect with it, but see if you can identify where you feel it in the body. Is it down here? Is it up here? Is it a combination? And what really important to get into the texture, the tone, the tempo, the shape, the movement, anything that can help you identify the feeling state more, because a lot of times these feelings are just looking for connection. You know, the antidote to not good enough is connection. I need to connect with that feeling. What is that? Shame. Okay, I need to go there and be with that and let it metabolize, like let it digest itself. So notice what you notice and rate that feeling of not good enough on a scale of 0 to 10 in terms of intensity, 10 being, God, it feels like cripplingly terrifying. I just feel shut down, or 3 being something like just mildly unpleasant. It's not a good vibe, but tolerable. So scale of 0 to 10. Notice what you notice. We'll just start tapping around the collarbone. All these insecurities. I really feel not good enough. These thoughts and feelings. I'm not good enough. I don't know exactly what that means, but I have a story in my mind that I'm not good enough. And even though the story is very general, very vague, and very binary, which demonstrates in itself that I'm probably coming from some kind of survival stress. Because survival stress limits my thinking. It dumbs down reality. Makes it very vague. And very black and white. But I'm still feeling these feelings. And they still feel really scary. Feeling not good enough. Maybe feels like shame. Maybe feels like anxiety. Maybe feels like panic and terror. I'm not good enough. What does that mean? What's going to happen now? And all these conclusions my mind is reaching. I'm not good enough for this. I'm not good enough for that. And just a general blanket theory of not feeling good enough. Maybe that can explain why I'm feeling the pain I'm feeling. Maybe that's the best my mind has been able to come up with. And it might feel true. And what I mean by that is I'm having the feeling experience. And the thought that explains it is very familiar. Feeling not good enough. Even though not good enough isn't actually a feeling. It's more of an analysis. For a collection of feelings. Things like shame. Things like anxiety. Things like panic. Things like guilt. I just want to be accepted and loved. I just want to accept myself. I want to accept where I'm at. I want to be able to accept myself. And that might mean accepting what I'm feeling. Even though a part of my brain might be really afraid of that. Because accepting what I'm feeling means that I accept not being good enough. And a part of my brain thinks that it really needs to motivate me to be better. While that might be true, that there are things I need to do in order to get certain needs met, that doesn't mean that fundamentally, on the whole, I am not good enough. It really just means that within this very specific context, this thing might not be a good fit. And maybe that's alright. Maybe I don't have to be a good fit for everything and everyone. Maybe I don't have to abandon parts of myself in order to get love from other people. Maybe I don't have to abandon parts of myself in order to fit in with them. Because if I abandon parts of myself in order to not be abandoned by others, then I'm really sacrificing a great deal in regards to my authenticity. And that could be very costly, especially down the line. If I sacrifice my authenticity in order to fit in with others, I might not know who I really am. I'll just end up being who I think other people want me to be. And I won't really be sovereign. I'll just end up being a slave to to other people's wants and desires. And maybe I don't really want to do that. Maybe I'd like to be who I am. And maybe I'd like to feel okay with that. Even if that's not exactly what this other person wants or needs. It doesn't mean I have to self-reject. Doesn't mean I have to self-abandon. Doesn't mean that the needs alive in me are not valid. Doesn't mean I have to suppress them. It could just mean that I find a different way to get them met. And there's almost always a way to get them met. I know if I stick by myself, and not beat myself up, and not try to shame or judge myself in order to motivate some kind of action, but actually be a bit more patient. And a bit warmer. And a bit more caring. And a bit more understanding. That might help me feel the connection that I was seeking in the first place. And when I accept those parts of myself, I don't always need to have them validated from the outside. I know that everybody's got different needs. And so me being authentic is not going to meet everybody's needs. And I'm going to choose to be okay with that. I'm not for everyone. And not everyone is for me. So I can release all of this survival stress. And all this shame. And release all of my emotional attachment. To all of these deep feelings of unworthiness. They could be so deep and so painful. And I could have had them for such a long time. So long, in fact, that they feel core to who I am. They just feel so familiar. And it's okay that they're there. I don't want to make them wrong or bad. I don't want to criticize, shame, or chastise them. I just want to find out what they need. Maybe right now they need care and support. So maybe it would be good if I could give that to them. I would love to help these feelings. These deep feelings of unworthiness. This deep sense of not good enough. all the insecurities that come with that. I'd love to take a softer view and see them for what they really are. A part of me that's really struggling. A part of me that really needs care and attention. A part of me that really needs help. And a part of me that really needs love. And perhaps seeing them in that light is going to help me soften to them and offer them the vital connection they need so they can start to realign and recalibrate with reality as it actually is. Rather than how I perceive it when I'm completely afraid and shut down. Because I know survival stress has an impact. I know it skews my perception. I know it limits my understanding. And I know it stops me from seeing what's true. All I see is what I fear. And if I can connect with that part of me, and help soothe it, and help it to feel okay. And that doesn't mean trying to convince it. That doesn't mean trying to change it. That doesn't mean steamrolling or bulldozing it. That actually means listening to it. Listening to its fears. Listening to its worries. And accepting it as it is. And maybe there's a part of me that might find that really difficult. That's okay too. Just because it's new and unfamiliar, to accept these parts of myself doesn't mean that it's wrong. Just because I feel worried about it doesn't mean that that worry is true. Even though it's true as an experience, doesn't mean it's an absolute truth. So releasing all this remaining survival stress, helping my system settle, letting all of my cells know that all of that stress and all of those conclusions about not being good enough it's okay that I experienced that, even though it was painful. But that was then. And this is now. And right here, right now, I'm safe. And it's okay that I'm here. I survived. I made it. I'm still breathing. So willing to accept all these difficult feelings, bit by bit, completely imperfectly, doing my best, willing to be lenient, willing to be warm, willing to be understanding towards all this struggle, willing to let go, and willing to be at peace. Hand on belly, hand on chest. Notice where you are now. Notice you check in with that feeling of intensity from before we started this, and now see where you're at with all of that. Perhaps that's shifted a little bit. Even if it goes up or if it goes down, whatever it is, we're just working on moving feelings around. So it's okay if it's gone up, just let it expand into the space that it needs to, and then it will gently start to dissipate. You can keep tapping, you can go through these scripts, you can ad-lib, pause and go off on a tangent, and if there's any memories or symbols or things that come up, you can just go through those and just gently release the emotional charge to all of these things. Digest it, break it down, tap with it, breathe with it, move with it, spend time with it, ask it what it needs, what it wants, help it out. Then it will start to rejoin the broader space of you, and then it starts to feel like it's more integrated. You're not fighting against it, you're not kind of pulling it away from this part of yourself. It's actually the opposite. You're reconnecting and bringing everything back together. It just frees up so much energy. Then you start to feel more aligned. You feel like you're more in your body, more where you are. You're not afraid of yourself and what you can feel. So hope that was a little bit useful. Let me know if you have any comments, feedback, anything like that. 27. A few more videos to go until the last day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of this. And I'll see you in the next video.